Welcome, friends and family, to Walk With Me Ministries. I'm Pastor Mark Horn, your host. I'm the pastor of Andrews Presbyterian Church in Andrews, South Carolina, and we certainly are glad you joined us for this segment. This is a ministry of our church where we look at current events through the lens of God's Word. And this week we have one that really is near to my heart, something that we take seriously here at our church. We take part as far as praying, and that is the issue of abortion. And this really piggybacks off of last week's message when we talked about the importance of human dignity. Today we're going to consider the importance of human life in itself. We certainly want to treat others with dignity, and we certainly want dignity ourselves, but we can't have dignity if we are not alive. And the state of South Carolina, what brings this up really is the state of South Carolina is considering a bill that protects human life. It's called the Human Life Protection Act. It just went before our House of Representatives, and it's working through committee there, and will go before the Senate, of course, and the governor. And this bill is titled H. 3774, H.3774, the Human Life Protection Act. And if you've kept up any with this issue, you know that it is something, it's really a second chance. We had a bill like this to occur, and went through both House and Senate, and the governor signed it, and then it reached the state Supreme Court, and they struck down that bill, and that was called the heartbeat law. And so since that has occurred, the Palmetto Family Council has stated that really South Carolina has become an abortion vacation destination. But this new bill will give the heartbeat law a second chance. Now, what's in the bill, you might ask? Well, the bill will protect life from the moment of conception, as well as reinforce the separation of powers framework in our state constitution to prevent judicial overreach should the bill become law and be challenged in court. So it's certainly something to keep up with. We need to support our House of Representatives and our senators. I would even encourage my people and all Christians and all people who, really anyone who supports the right to life, to contact their representatives and senators and tell them that we desire for H.3774 to make it through committee and to pass Senate, House, and we can certainly contact the governor and make sure that he signs it into law, which I don't see any reason that it shouldn't. Now, why is this bill important to us? Well, number one is we deal with what is inside of the womb. And I know that there are a lot of pro-abortion advocates, pro-choice advocates, who don't believe that what is inside of a woman's womb, as far as a child goes, is anyone's business but theirs, and they should be able to do with it what they want. If they want to abort it, then it is certainly their right. I know we hear all the time, my body, my right. My body is not your body. You don't have any authority or reason to tell me what I should or should not do with my body. But that is simply not the case. Number one, we realize that the child which is growing inside of a woman's womb is indeed a human being. Now we get that, of course, from Psalm 139, 13 through 16, among other places, other scriptures in the Bible. This isn't the only one, but this is one that we go to. This is one of the go-to passages because God is clear. He is very specific in this situation, in this passage, to tell us what we are, even before we are birthed out of our mother's body. And this is how these 4 verses go. God tells us, "For you have created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." So we understand that God teaches us that child, that person that is inside of the mother's womb, as it is continuously growing, the Lord Himself has knit that as bringing every single piece of that person's being into existence. It's a clear case. We know from science. A lot of times these abortion activists want us to look at the science and when does life occur. And I know with the heartbeat bill, it's as good as it was, and certainly is one of the best laws that is on the books. One of the statements that it makes is that the life occurs at the moment of the heartbeat, and the first heartbeat occurs. But we know from God's word that life begins even when we don't hear that heartbeat. Even as it is the egg is being fertilized. And so as it comes into being at that moment of conception, that's the moment of conception that God Himself has placed, has ordained for that life to begin. And it's a beautiful aspect of how He has made us, how we are fearfully and wonderfully made by the Creator of this universe. And so that's when the life begins, and that's when it should be utmost protected by other individuals. As I counsel people, one of the things that I have to be aware of is when people are in such states of distress that they may harm themselves. They may hurt themselves. And so what I have to do, and what any person should do when they come into a situation like that, is to intervene, is to step in. And maybe not from their own particular vantage point, because you certainly don't want to drive that person to do something that they shouldn't do or have them harm you. You certainly want to contact those who are professionals at this, the police and others who can talk to this person or get to him quicker than you might can. But nonetheless, you don't just step back and say, oh, well, it's your body, so if you want to take your life, then I should just let you do it. We don't do that. No one does that. Not unless you're Jack Kevorkian or something like from his followers. But that same principle applies even with the unborn child, because here you have a situation where someone, whether it be the mother, whether it be the doctor, whether it be whomever is consulting with them, has led them to believe that it is okay to take that life. And that simply is not true. It is one of the commandments. Exodus 20:13 is clear. It's only 4 words. This commandment is only 4 words. You shall not murder. And when we put a child through abortion, that is exactly what we are doing. And we know that, there is explicit videos on social media that will show you exactly what happens in the process of an abortion. And it is grotesque. If you haven't seen one, I do not recommend you to watch one. Most people will be sick. I was sick over seeing that. But nonetheless, it occurs. And what occurs in that process of murder is the opposite of what God is doing within the mother. As Jeremiah 1:5 reminds us, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I'll appoint you as a prophet to the nations. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And now when you go to to do an abortion, that process, that right there, is being turned on its head. Because now what is known about that human life inside of its mother is about to be ripped apart, torn apart, not formed, but torn apart. And so, fortunately for us South Carolinians, we have legislatures who are very in tune with what goes on within abortion clinics and what happens to these children and the need for them to be protected. And you have folks like McCravey and Smith and Newton and Pope, who has come up with H3774, to help protect life. I'm not going to read you the whole bill. We don't have time for that in this segment, but I do just want you to hear what is being presented, what they are presenting to their fellow representatives. It starts this way: a bill to amend the South Carolina Code of Laws by enacting the Human Life Protection Act by adding Article 7 to Chapter 41, Title 44, so as to ban abortions in this state, to provide for exceptions to the ban on abortions, to protect the use of contraceptives and alternative reproductive technologies, to provide penalties, to provide a civil cause of action for failure to comply with the requirements of this article, to provide that a woman cannot be prosecuted for having an abortion, to provide that physicians or other licensed professionals shall lose their license for violations of this article, and to provide that a woman's name may remain anonymous in the proceedings initiated pursuant to this article, by adding Section 4190 so as to provide that the state health insurance program may not pay for abortions, may not pay for them, to prohibit state funds from being used for the purchase of fetal tissue or fetal remains obtained from an abortion, to defund Planned Parenthood, by adding Section 63-17-325 so as to require a biological father to pay child support beginning at, listen to this word, and this is what I spoke of in the beginning, at conception. At conception. And it goes on from there. Good stuff in that. You can certainly find this bill online. I pulled this off on January 25th, 2023, from the South Carolina Legislature. So you certainly can find it and you can read it. And of course, you know, I'm sure you heard some things that makes the bill imperfect. It's not a perfect bill. It's not, as Christians, we will look at some of it and we'll scratch our heads and say, well, why do they throw that in there? And we know politics is politics. There has to be some kind of concessions on certain issues. However, this is one of the best ones that I've read. And it's one that we certainly need to push. We need to influence our legislatures to pass so that we can protect the unborn children in the state of South Carolina. So with that, dear ones, I hope that you take this seriously, because this is a serious matter. This is a serious matter for believers. And we have the influence in our state to make sure something like this gets passed. So I encourage you to do that. Until next time, may the Lord's face shine upon you. May He be gracious to you and give you peace. See you then.